Honorable Speaker, this is the second budget to be prepared under the new county administration, which is aligned to the Governor's Manifesto and the Kenya Kwanza administration that supports the bottom approach of the economic model. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll move to the budget framework because I think that part members can follow easily. Budget framework for the 2024-2025 and the medium term, the summary of the financial year 2024-2025 budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, in the financial year 2024-2025 has been projected a total budget of Kenyan shillings 21.0 billion Kenyan shillings, inclusive of the exchequer balance comprising of compensation to employees, Kenyan shillings 8.1 billion, that will be 38.5% of the total budget. Use of goods and services, Kenyan shillings 5.92 billion Kenyan shillings, that is 28.1%. Development expenditure of Kenyan shillings 7.03 billion Kenyan shillings, that is 33.4%. It included to the above, Honorable Speaker, the total county budget of Kenyan shillings 21.07 billion Kenyan, as highlighted in Annex 1, includes exchequer balances of Kenyan shillings 1.005 billion Kenyan shillings of the ongoing projects as attached in Annex 2. Mr. Speaker, in essence, this means that some of the projects that have been awarded, Mr. Speaker, have been rolled over to this budget to a tune of 1.005. And as hence, Mr. Speaker, we shall not be expecting to be awaiting a supplement in September for these people to be paid. Nakuru will run well, Mr. Speaker. Budget hearing and consultations, Mr. Speaker. We have gone through the public participation in various centers, Mr. Speaker. It started even beyond the time of CFSP, Mr. Speaker. And today, Mr. Speaker, we have this copy complying and having aligned to the rule of law that governs us. Honorable Speaker, the County Assembly further held physical budget validation meetings from the 14th to the 17th of May with the citizens in their respective sub-counties, chaired by the Budget and Appropriation Committee members, and the views integrated, Mr. Speaker. It is in good faith that these members remember, Mr. Speaker, that earlier on in May that we visited various wards across various sub-counties, and we held budget validation process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee is very grateful to the civil societies who took their invaluable time to review the financial year 2024-2025 budget estimates. They have given us the memorandum, Mr. Speaker. They have appeared before the committee, Mr. Speaker, and we are forever grateful because organizations such as the CTL, the CRIFSUP, and project and members of Persons with Disability Network, Mr. Speaker, all these people appeared before the committee, gave memorandum, Mr. Speaker, and today, Mr. Speaker, we are proceeding to know that we are reading something that has been ordered by the people. Honorable Speaker, the public, through submission of memoranda, made the following recommendations, which the committee have considered in the finalization of this report. Some of the proposals include proposed increase of budget allocation for PWD's talent and sports development, Mr. Speaker, raised concern with PWD access to County Government Opportunities AGPO, involvement of PWDs in public participation, especially in issues of identifying the specific devices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we also engaged with the various departments and various chairs of this House, Mr. Speaker, and we asked for the regulations of operation of the monies that we cater for the PWDs within this assembly, Mr. Speaker. And I know the chairperson, this committee, is on the course in delivering. Financing 2024-2025 financial year budget. Honorable Speaker, will be financed from a projected local revenue of Kenyan shillings 2.2 billion Kenyan shillings, exchequer balances of Kenyan shillings 1.1 billion Kenyan shillings, and facility improvement fund of 1.8 billion Kenyan shillings, conditional grant amounting to 1.8, and equitable share of 14.13 billion Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, during our last session, when we were seeking to be given more time, we wanted to cap out the local revenue from 2.4, and we were in agreement with the executive team that we bring it down to 2.2, Mr. Speaker, and has been indicated within this report. Mr. Speaker, we have resource envelope in financial year 2024-2025. Members can follow that, where we have the local source revenues all the way to the CRA equitable share, of which we have the 21.072 billion Kenyan shillings. That is on page 12 for your tablets, Mr. Speaker, sir. Key priority areas for the financial year 2024-2025. Honorable Speaker, the Office of the Governor has been indicated there, and what it will include and entail, Mr. Speaker. And I will move to the departments per department, Mr. Speaker. And within this, Mr. Speaker, the office of the Governor has the following priorities for the next calendar year. Completion and equipping of non-residential building worth around 40 million Kenyan shillings. Completion of Milimani Annex, executive for emergencies fund, train of staff, allocation of some amounts for donation that is amounting to 14 million, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Governor has been allocated a total of Kenyan shillings 428.8 million Kenyan shillings, which is 2% of the entire county budget, and comprises of 136 million for the compensation of employees, 243 for operations and maintenance, and 48.9 Kenyan million shillings for development and development expenditure. The county treasury, Mr. Speaker, honorable members can follow on that. And when you go to the projects, whereby we shall have the final finalization of the treasury building, Mr. Speaker. This will enable all the CECs, all the CEOs, all the heads of departments to be accommodated in one building, Mr. Speaker, and it will help us that when members of this assembly or members of public want to visit these CEOs, CECs, Mr. Speaker, they can get them in a centralized place, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, completion of solarization of county headquarters, extension to disaster response. We want to cut down on the use of power, Mr. Speaker, and hence solar is the next option that Her Excellency has seen it fit to be entailed within. Refurbishment of new hall offices, town hall offices, Mr. Speaker, has been indicated there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also the debts resolution worth Kenyan shillings 80 million Kenyan shillings, mainly on KPLC. Purchase of containers, Mr. Speaker, 4 in number to serve as revenue officers within worth Kenyan shillings 2.8. Mr. Speaker, the Finance Committee has read various reports within this assembly requesting that the people who are collecting the funds, they are rained on and they cannot settle well, Mr. Speaker. Within this budget, we have ensured that we shall have containers which will be well designed to serve as cash collection centers in the areas like Maimahio and other areas, so that we enhance the budget that the local source revenue that we want to get, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee has set aside Kenyan shillings 200 million in the Treasury Department to cater for the debt resolution for the financial year 2024-2025, Mr. Speaker. To operationalize the above priorities, Honorable Speaker, the County Treasury Department has been allocated a total of 2.3 billion, which is 11.1 of the entire county budget, and comprises of Kenyan shillings 521.4 million for compensation to employees, and Kenyan shillings 1.035 billion for operation and maintenance, 788.1 million for development expenditure. County Public Service Board, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this has been well established under Section 57 of the County Government Act 2012 with the perpetual succession, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we come to the program that will be undertaken, we shall be having the training of board members, staff recruitment as per departmental request, development of online recruitment portal of Kenyan shillings, 3 million Kenyan shillings, installation of CCTV cameras at the board offices for Kenyan shillings 2 million. Honorable Speaker, the Public Service Board department has been allocated Kenyan shillings 90,392,000, which is 0.4% of the entire county budget and comprises of Kenyan shillings 39.6 million for compensation to employees, 45,750,000 for operational maintenance, and Kenyan shillings 5.5 million for development expenditure. Trade, tourism, and culture, Mr. Speaker, sir. Under this department, Mr. Speaker, sir, various things have been established, Mr. Speaker. We have circles within this department, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to specifically deal with the programs that this department will be undertaking across the county, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the department wishes to undertake the following in the next financial year, Mr. Speaker. Construction of new modern markets. Construction of new modern markets worth Kenyan shillings 31.2 million Kenyan shillings across the county. Rehabilitation of existing markets worth Kenyan shillings 4 million Kenyan shillings. Completion of Karai market worth at around 20 million, that is within Naivasha East. Construction of market and repairing of mass rights in Kongasis, which is in Emburu Baruk ward at around 15 million. Construction of Rangaranga market in Morindat ward. Construction of a market in Naisut at Kenyan shillings 15 million. Construction of Mutimba market shed, security right and latrine in Njoro ward at 5 million Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, in that department, the Corporate Tourism and Culture Department has been allocated Kenyan shillings 438.8 million Kenyan, which is 2.1% of the entire county budget, and comprises of 107.8 million for compensation to employees and 132 million 0.8 for operation and maintenance of various things there. And we have 198.1 for development and expenditure. In health, Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Speaker, the Department of Health derives its mandate from the 4th schedule of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, Executive Order of March 2023 and Legal Notice number 137 of 2023. The department, Honorable Speaker, wishes to undertake the following in the next financial year. Danida capital transfers to health centers and dispensaries worth Kenyan shillings 16.1 million Kenyan shillings. Purchase of medical and dental equipment, FIF, worth Kenyan shillings 190 million. Purchase of plant machinery, FIF, worth Kenyan shillings 141,042 million Kenyan shillings. 5 million of building FIF, and equipping of new OPD at PGH hospital worth Kenyan shillings 82 million. It is worth noting, honorable members, that PGH serves not only the wards that are around the city, but the entire of Nakuru County and the entire region around this area. Counter funding of Danida worth Kenyan shillings 17.8 million Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, we shall have construction of a level 4 hospital in Rongai sub-county, phase 2, worth Kenyan shillings, 50 million Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, we also have construction of a level 4 hospital in Kuresoi North sub-county, phase 2, worth Kenyan shillings, 50 million. Completion of Maimahiu Hospital auxiliary works, perimeter wall, morgue, laundry, kitchen, and storm water drainage at a cost of 30 million Kenyan shillings in Maimahiu, Mr. Speaker. The innovation of the burnt unit in Nyamili dispensary in Sorai, Mr. Speaker, at a cost of 2.9 million Kenyan shillings. Construction of new outpatient abortion block in Njoro sub-county hospital. Mr. Speaker, we all have all this. Honorable Speaker, the Health Service Department has been allocated Kenyan shillings 7.8 million billion Kenyan shillings, which is 37.1 of the entire county budget. Honorable Speaker, on infrastructure, we have it there, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, we have an elaborate way of how this, within this department, things have been allocated, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in infrastructure, the department has allocated Kenya shillings 28.5 for the 28,500,000 for the maintenance of rural urban roads through Imarisha Barabara program, and a further 60 million for the ward kitty as highlighted. Mr. Speaker, sir, in agriculture and fisheries, Mr. Speaker, I will ask the members, because of the rising noises around the country, that I move to the finalities of each and every vote head for the purpose of this day, Mr. Speaker. The department, Honorable Speaker, has been allocated a total of 1.1 billion Kenyan shillings, which is 5.6 of the entire county budget, Mr. Speaker. And within this, Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting, Mr. Speaker, that some of the wards that will benefit from the various things that we have here. We have Ward Aggregation Fertilizer Center in Dabibi, that is in Maera. We have Regional Fertilizer Store in Karate, that is in Marawa West. We have Ward Aggregation Center in Ragwenda, worth of Kenyan shilling. I don't know which ward is this, Mr. but I will provide proper details. Worth 13 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, supply and distribution of pyrethrum seedlings, worth Kenyan shillings 30 million, Mr. Speaker. This department, Mr. Speaker, has been awarded 5.6% of the budget of this county. Mr. Speaker, sir, we move to the water, environment, and energy, natural resources, Mr. Speaker, and climate change. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have different projects being done. We have rehabilitation of dams, Mr. Speaker, at 33 million Kenyan shillings within another area in Njoro. We have 13 million for accessories under the county climate change. And then we have, we shall implement Sarga counterpart funding, World Vision counterpart funding at around 22 million, Mr. Speaker. Establishment of energy stores, energy centers for promotion of energy, renewable energy, technology worth Kenyan shillings 5 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, this department has been given 5.4% of the entire budget, which is 1.145 billion Kenyan shillings. Thank you very much, Sergeant. Public service devolution and citizen management, disaster management, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an elaborate part has been placed here. And we have locally fabricated furniture for Rongai, Subukia, Kuresoi sub-county offices, Elementaita Ward and Barut Ward offices worth at Kenyan shillings 2 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have supply and installation of solar floods in Rongai, Subukia, Kuresoi sub-county offices, Elementaita Ward and Barut at around Kenyan shillings 2 million again, Mr. Speaker. Designing, installing, and digital filming system, bulk filling for human resource registry at 4 million Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, we have rehabilitation for fire machinery at Kenyan shillings 6 million. We have refurbishment of fire divisions in Moro, Naivasha, Nakuru Disaster Rescue Center building and at a cost of 5 million. Honorable Speaker, this department has received 4.2% of the entire budget ceiling, Mr. Speaker. Run physical housing and urban centers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have to implement the World Bank Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Projects 2, KISIP 2, at around 550 million Kenyan shillings. Planning and survey for trading centers, Kongoni, Kapsembeyo, Morop, Kepremeyo, Ngodi, Piave, Sirikwa, Kanyotu and Nguriga at Kenyan shillings 10 million. Compulsory requisition of 1 acre of land at Kiamaina for market construction in Heshima worth Kenyan shillings 47 million Kenyan shillings. Surveying approved centers Karunga, Kehingo, Majitamu, Althanai, Nyamathi, Masinjeri, Nudhu, Maunarok, extension of Porepore, Kibunja, Karate at Kenyan shillings 10 million. Development regeneration master plan for 3 townships, Njoro, Maimahiu, Maunarok at Kenyan shillings 6.5 million Kenyan shillings. Honorable Speaker, the Department of Lands, Physical Planning and Housing has been allocated 4.4% of the total county budget, that is 924.094,487. Mr. Speaker, sir. In education, Mr. Speaker, sir. In education, Mr. Speaker, sir, we shall be implementing conditional allocation for rehabilitation of youth polytechnics around the county at 66 million Kenyan shilling. Mr. Speaker, rehabilitation and construction on equipping of ECD centers worth Kenyan shillings at 20 million Kenyan shillings. Equipping of ECD centers at 40.0 million Kenyan shillings. Supply ECD running materials at 6 million Kenyan shillings. Riobei Polytechnic dormitories construction and equipping worth Kenyan shillings 10 million Kenyan shillings. Moi Primary ECD Center, that is in London Ward, at a cost of 5 million Kenyan shillings. Acquisition of equipment for public communication unit worth Kenyan shillings 3 million. Honorable Speaker, there is allocation for supporting need and deserving students bursary amounting to 175 million. In this, Mr. Speaker, we shall have 3 million for each and every ward. We shall also have 20 million for governor's scholarship program within that amount. To support the ECD school feeding program, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 100 million Kenyan shillings to support the runners, improve education outcomes and nutritional status of children in initiative in the governor's manifesto. Mr. Speaker, this took 8% of the entire budget. Youth, sports, gender, social services, and inclusivity. Mr. Speaker, in this department, we shall establish, we have establishment of Keringet High Altitude Sports Center, 1B, worth Kenyan shillings 3 million. Construction of stadium in Lakeview at 24 million. We shall have construction of Jowadhon Stadium, worth Kenyan shillings 16 million. That is in Njoro. We have construction of stadium rights at Jack, of a stadium and stadium rights at Kwajak in London Ward. Mr. Speaker, sir. Equipping of Naivasha Empowerment Center, that is in Naivasha Market. This approach has been done to all the markets that will be constructed across the various wards. Purchase of equipment from Menengai Textile, worth Kenyan shillings, 4 million Kenyan shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, this takes 2.2% of our budget. Mr. Speaker, we have a schedule there, or an attachment of how the 67.3 million Kenyan shillings have been distributed into various wards according to how these members have taken initiative in this. Mr. Speaker, when you took offices, Mr. Speaker, the youth office or this category had an allocation of around 15 million from members. Today, Mr. Speaker, the empowerment part has gone to the extreme of 67 million Kenyan shillings, showing that the Gen Zs of this nation have been well taken care of within our budget estimates this financial year, Mr. Speaker, sir. Naivasha Municipal, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have a municipality that is facing various challenges, Mr. Speaker, but above all, Mr. Speaker, we shall be doing paved parking within the CBD, drainage, construction, NMNT, and beautification along Mamangina Road, worth Kenyan shillings, 10 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these parkings, Mr. Speaker, will help us in generation of revenue, Mr. Speaker, because at the moment, if you go through Naivasha, Mr. Speaker, most of the vehicles that are parked within that town, and consider that this is a tourist center, Mr. Speaker, they are not charged, Mr. Speaker, because we don't have marked parking, we don't have areas that can help us generate revenue. We have installation of and maintenance of street lights in Naivasha town at a cost of 18 million, Mr. Speaker. That is Naivasha municipality at a cost of 18 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. It is worth noting, tourist destination towns, Mr. Speaker, there is so many activities happening at night that generate revenue for these counties, Mr. Speaker, for this county, Mr. Speaker. We have construction and maintenance of street lights in Naivasha. Sorry for that, Mr. Speaker. Construction of drainages within CBD at a cost of Kenyan shillings 14 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, that will be Naivasha municipality. Office of the county attorney, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in this office, we have various programs that they have, Mr. Speaker, but when it comes to the part that entails this budget, Mr. Speaker, we have equipping of resources center worth Kenyan shillings 3 million. We have drafting of bills and forwarding to the county assembly for approval. Mr. Speaker, sir, this will occupy 0.3% of this budget. We have Nakuru City, Mr. Speaker, where we have installation of street lights across the sub-county, across the city areas, Mr. Speaker, at a cost of 40 million. That will entail that it will cover all around the 9 wards that make up, the 9 or the 11 wards that make up the city. The rehabilitation of the drainages within the CBD, Mr. Speaker, because of the storm waters that continue affecting this place. Nakuru City, Mr. Speaker, has obtained 0.7% of this budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, our new baby in town, Moro municipality, Mr. Speaker, we have various things that they have and they'll do, Mr. Speaker. But for once, Mr. Speaker, the Kipreft Center Bus Park development on the street will be Cabros at the end of this financial year, Mr. Speaker. We have allocated 12 million Kenyan shillings for that purpose. Moro CBD NMT, street furniture and beautification worth Kenyan shillings, 12 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Moro Disaster Center development, fire engine equipping worth Kenyan shillings, 8 million. Municipal Park for development at a cost of 3 million. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, within this municipality, they will be obtaining some good amount apart from what they have obtained from their ward level, Mr. Speaker. And we must note that Moro municipality is made up of different wards, Mr. Speaker, but we must start from somewhere before we go to the other 3 or 4 wards, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is occupying 0.3%. In Gilgil municipality, Mr. Speaker, we shall be having various projects that are entailed within this area. We shall have Cabro paving and installation of street furniture from GG Junction to GTI, worth Kenyan shillings, 30 million Kenyan shillings. Installation and rehabilitation of 30 meters high masts rights in Rangaranga, rights in Rangaranga and within Gilgil town at around 6 million Kenyan shilling. Shipping for the fire engine at a cost of Kenyan shillings, 4 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Gilgil municipality has been allocated a total amount of 65.2 million Kenyan shillings, which is 0.3% of the budget. The County Assembly of Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have held meetings with you as the budget committee, and we have seen the good work that you are planning for these members, of which, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have 6.7% of the entire budget, and I know there will be communication on various things that will be done within this bunge, Mr. Speaker, for honorable members, Mr. Speaker, and also for the goodness of the community. It is overwhelming, Mr. Speaker, to find that we shall be doing construction of ward offices, which you want to be your brainchild within this bunge, Mr. Speaker, that members of this assembly will now not be renting offices. Like myself as the budget chair, Mr. Speaker, I rent a house, Mr. Speaker. So when I get this coming from the board of this bunge, Mr. Speaker, I'm filled with nostalgic joy, Mr. Speaker. Designing and consultancy for the members' parking, Mr. Speaker. For instance, today, Mr. Speaker, you find we are parking behind your office, Mr. Speaker, and we are afraid of what might even befall on our vehicles, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I think it's a good initiative because Kenyans must live well where they are. We shall have to pass legislative laws that will impact counties positively, Mr. Speaker. We have recommendations here, Mr. Speaker. And one of it is that the county expedite the amendment to the People Living with Disability Act, PWD 2016, in order to conform to the recommendations of the Controller of Budget, Mr. Speaker. In regard, the county advised to fast-track the development of the tariffs and pricing policy pursuant to Section 120 of the County Government Act 2012, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is the summary of our budget here in Nakuru County, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker, and ask Honorable Wanjiku to second that, Mr. Speaker.
I second.
Thank you, Chair. The motion is that pursuant to the provisions of Section 129 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 and the Standing Order 210, Part 6, this House adopts the report of the Committee on Budget and Appropriations on the Nakuru County budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of the Assembly on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, during the morning session. The motion is open for debate. The Honourable Member for Lare and the Honourable Member for Turi, in that order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that has been forwarded by the Chair for Budget. And Mr. Speaker, thank him for the comprehensiveness and the level that he has made the presentation. Mr. Speaker, this document that has been read in this House, it's a document that has been in the public domain, and I want to thank the Chair for that. Physical copies were available, and also available on the social platforms. And we also carried out public participation and public validation to ensure that the members of the public and even ourselves as members of this Assembly are well acquainted with this document. Mr. Speaker, what has made me very happy for the first time in my 7th year in this Assembly is the distribution of the HQ projects. Mr. Speaker, in the past 5 or 6 years or so, we've had mega projects done in some wards. And when I do some wards, most of the projects were done at sub-county headquarters. Mr. Speaker, for the first time, we have seen monies distributed to almost 3/4 of our wards. When I say that, Mr. Speaker, I'm not saying that all the wards have benefited. But, Mr. Speaker, if you look at that document which has been read here and presented, most of our wards at least have something that we can be proud of. We can be proud of, for example, of my friend, the Honourable Member for Njoro. We'll have a stadium for the first time with a pavilion, which we have never had in the whole sub-county of Njoro. So there's few millions of shillings that have been set. As members of Njoro, that stadium is not in my ward. But because it is in Njoro sub-county, the youths from my ward do not have to come to a Afraha stadium where they come and enjoy the facilities of a stadium. And we hope that this will also reach to other sub-counties so that each sub-county will have at least a stadium or a hospital or a water facility or something that we can be proud of as a county. Mr. Speaker, if you looked at education, and being a teacher for many years, I was consulting the Chair for Education. There was something we were consulting on. we have, and we wish to bring to the attention of the members, we have a very nice program in all our ECDs across the county. I'm not sure how many they are, the chair will tell us. And I remember visiting my ward and a few wards in Naivasha. If you visit your public ECD, and these, all the honorable members who are here, each ECD has two modern mobile phones. And the kids in your institution are learning a bit of computer, where a child is exposed for about 20 minutes of ICT. And that is something that we all need to be proud of, and when we go to awards, we need to tell our members to look into that. I've seen in that budget, honorable members, we accepted that at least we put 6.4 so that we are able to add additional modern phones which our children can use. Mr. Speaker, I've looked at the roads department, and the chair for roads should be noting about this. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated monies over the years about roads, but unfortunately the procurement process takes too long. And when we have to do our roads, we do them at the rainy season. And Mr. Speaker, the state of our roads becomes even worse. So we asked the chair for roads that once we pass this budget, the procurement process for our roads starts slightly earlier. If you look at the majority of the roads we did this year, we did them when it was raining, and the outcome of those roads were not very good. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the issues we want to talk about. Very impressed about water. My ward, Mr. Speaker, is a ward that has water scarcity, and I've always had issues. And for the first time, Mr. Speaker, my ward is now able to receive monies from HQ to work on water plants, to work on a very big dam that is in my ward. Having talked about the issues of health, we have hospitals that have not been completed. I've heard about my Mahi and the other wards. New facilities will be constructed. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as I sit, I support this motion that we pass the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Turi, then I will come on this side.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I arise to support this motion. Number one, because this particular report of the budget is going to pave the way for the new municipality, especially Moro and Gilgil, which were newly being created. For example, Moro municipality has been granted 35 million. The 35 million is going to form the foundation for all the things that are being required under the municipality. Also, when you go to Gilgil municipality, it has been given 40 million. Also, we have the feeding program, the ECD feeding program, which is a brainchild of our Excellency the Governor, which has also been given 100 million. This is to make sure that our young kids in the ECD, they will continue with the feeding program, which they are totally very happy about it, and this is to make sure that it's going to continue. Number two, we also have some of the headquarter projects and other ward projects which were ongoing and which they have already been stalled. But through this particular report or this particular motion, these particular projects, they are going to see the light of the day. Also, it is one of the reports or the budget whereby we realize that it is a very balanced budget because especially all the wards, even if it's not all the 55 wards, almost every ward have obtained something, and every ward we are going to see a balanced development. Otherwise, I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, you also realize that we are going to have another session, another plenary session starting at 11:30. So we are going to allow this session to go up to 11:20. Yeah, so that we are on the same page, same paragraph and same sentence in as far as time management is concerned. The honorable member for Viwandani, not Viwandani, sorry, for Hell's Gate Ward, Karagita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Virginia, member of County Assembly from Hell's Gate Ward, North Viwandani, Mr. Speaker, and we are from different gender. I like to support this document, and my first contribution is on the county treasury. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have acquisition of ICT equipment for revenue collection. Mr. Speaker, we have had issues with revenue collection in this county. And it's my hope that now we are buying equipment for the collection of revenue, we shall see value for money. I also call on the Committee on Finance to make sure that we get these equipment and they see them and they see how they operate, so that they can be sure that we are going to enhance on revenue collection. Also, Mr. Speaker, there is the issue of the 200 million for debt resolution for the financial year 24-25. The county is always behind on the issues of debt, and we hope by now, by the end, when this budget has been assented to, we shall deal with the issues of debt. On the issue of education, Mr. Speaker, I see we have monies which have been allocated, which you cut across all wards, not for a particular ward, but we hope that the money will benefit the very, very needy wards as far as the issues of education is concerned. On the issue of health, Mr. Speaker, we have so many facilities which had been put up by the former government, bearing in mind, Mr. Speaker, that the money which had been used by the former regime is the taxpayers' money, and it's the duty of the current government to finish what the other, the former government had started, especially like the issue of Mai Mahiu. A lot of money had been put into that facility, and seeing that there is money for equipping and also for compression of the hospital and for doing a morgue, because we cannot have a level hospital without a morgue. I'm happy that there will be compression of that hospital so that we can decongest Naivasha Referral Hospital, and the people of that area will be able to see value for their taxes and value for the money they give out. So, Mr. Speaker, even the installation of generators, sometimes you see that when there is no electricity, the services in our hospitals just kind of stalls. So I support this document because I see it's a mwananchi-oriented budget, and it's going to help all the members of this assembly, considering that even in the HQ, now we see, and the members have seen, that even if you don't get something in your ward, somebody else is benefiting. And there is always a next time, and Rome was not built in a day, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Member for Moridat, the Honourable Member for Barut, and the Honourable Member from Rongai, the Honourable Doreen Korir, and then we are going to take another round.
Mr. Speaker, my name is PM Joroge, MCA for Morindat, and also the Chair for Education Committee, and I thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me also commend the Committee on Budget for the job well done. I know they have had to burn a midnight oil to come up and also prepare a very sober budget that is intended to take this county to another level. Mr. Speaker, I've noted with excitement that ours is a county government that is quite sensitive to the needs of the Gen Z. And Mr. Speaker, this very government intends to develop the Gen Z talents by setting aside and committing massive resources for the construction of various stadiums. Mr. Speaker, I've seen that a total of 75 million has been set aside for that purpose. And this will help the county to come up with a Kwajak Stadium in London, Jawada Stadium in Joro, a Shabab Stadium in a Shabab Ward, and also Kihoto Stadium in Lakeview Ward, Naivasha. Mr. Speaker, another 8 million has been set aside to complete the Keringet Stadium for the county marathoners. And Mr. Speaker, you realize that the marathon is also a major trademark for this country. Therefore, this is a step in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, our government also intends to ensure that our Gen Z are technologically empowered. And therefore, I have noted that in this budget, enough resources have been set aside to ensure that 18 new markets have been constructed, and these markets have ICT hubs that will help equip the Gen Z with digital skills that will give them access to the digital market. Mr. Speaker, I've also noted that there is a funding for equipping of the incubation hub at Naivasha, and this incubation hub, Mr. Speaker, is intended to refine the skills, the IT skills, and also the vocational skills of the Gen Z so that we can link them to jobs. Mr. Speaker, another 4 million has been set aside for the introduction of short courses in all the VTCs across the county. And therefore, I feel that this is a step in the right direction in ensuring that as a government, we are empowering our Gen Z. Mr. Speaker, regarding the education in this country, in this county, I've seen that we've set aside 6 million for the ADU program. And Mr. Speaker, this is a very important program that intends to integrate ICT in the ECD learning. Mr. Speaker, you realize that we have 114 ECD centers, and all of them have received gadgets to ensure that our learners, ECD learners, have access to digital materials using the very same gadgets. And Mr. Speaker, this is a donor-funded program, and they have already injected 80 million in the program, and therefore our small role as a government is only to set aside 6 million that is expected for the maintenance of the system yearly. Mr. Speaker, last but not least, allow me to note that I have the privilege of representing the Gilgil members of County Assembly in the budget. And Mr. Speaker, I feel that I have done a fair job in representing them because...
the Honourable Member for Gilgil.
Yes, yes, Mr. Speaker.
For Moridat.
Yes.
Now, what direction are you taking? Because the last time we checked, you represented the good people of Moridat.
Yeah.
And there is nowhere that you, by virtue of being in the budget committee, that you represent the membership of the honorable members from Gilgil.
Mr. Speaker,
or there is an unwritten rule about that, which the Speaker is not aware.
It's the fact that I'm the only MCA from Gilgil who's in the budget committee. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to just mention a few gains that we have made as a constituency.
The honorable member for Shabab, what is it?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I have a concern.
Have your seat. I will allow you time. Proceed, the honorable member for...
Mr. Speaker, allow me to mention important gains that we have made as a constituency in this budget. Number one, Mr. Speaker, 15 million shillings have been set aside for Morindat for the construction of Langalanga Market. Mr. Speaker, sir, when you go to Burumbaruk, another 14 million shillings have been set aside for the construction of Kongasis Market. Mr. Speaker, sir, the residents of Gilgil people have not been left behind because 30 million shillings have been set aside for the Cabro paving of the CBD. Mr. Speaker, sir, the good people and also residents of Elementaita Ward have also benefited from 20 million shillings for the Dubai Water Project, and this will ensure that more than 5,000 residents will have access to clean water. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, also the good people of Malawa have also received 13 million shillings that will see to it that a cold room or a cold store has been put in place to ensure that they have a place where they can temporarily store their pyrethrum before it goes to the market. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to support this report, and I wish to support the budget, and I want to commend the budget team and also the members for coming up with a very sober budget that will take this county to the next level. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Barut.
Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member, the concern that you have, is it about this, the matter on the floor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Is it a security? Is it a matter of privilege, or what is it?
It's a matter of concern because, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member for Morindat was...
Order. That is closed. The honourable member for Barut, proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First, I rise to support this motion, but with some amendments, Mr. Speaker. But first, I would like to thank the Budget Committee, for the job well done. Without forgetting a committee, the Finance Committee, where I'm also a member, for also generating more avenues where the county government used to collect funds for the Budget Committee to do the budget. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise also to say thanks for the county government. For the first time, Mr. Speaker, Barut is benefiting from the budget from the headquarters, whereby we were given 25 million for constructing a road and a bridge, Summit Bridge, that connect Nakuru town. This bridge, Mr. Speaker, connect the 4 wards, Barut, Kapures, Shabab, and Kamtembo. Mr. Speaker, this bridge will uplift the living standard of my people, because even the lands and the plots in my area will even shoot in terms of price, Mr. Speaker. Another issue, Mr. Speaker, being a member of Barut, being one of the wards within the city, there are some amendments that I would like to mention here, Mr. Speaker. We have some funds from the city board. And I know very well that the city was formed by the 11 wards. The 6 wards from the Nakuru Town West, 5 wards from the Nakuru Town East. And we have some funds that it's supposed to be shared equally among the 11 wards. The Speaker, we have the installation of street lights within the city, that worth 15 million. This one was captured very well. It will going to benefit all of us. We have the second one, the rehabilitation of drainages within the CBD. Within the CBD, meaning that it will only benefit one ward, the Biashara ward. And we are members. We are the one that formed this city, Mr. Speaker. So I think they should indicate within the city, Barut being...
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Whip, allow the member to proceed. I will allow you time.
There is no need for him to mention Biashara ward. He can mention Barut ward.
Mr. Speaker,
proceed.
I mentioned Biashara ward.
Barut, proceed.
You know, Mr. Speaker, Nakuru City, the CBD, started from here, Waterback, going downward toward this hotel. Which hotel is this? No, next to, not Kadhi, hapo chini, not Bontana. No, I will tell you when I remember. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the CBD started from here, Waterberg, going inward. Meaning that even Shabab, Flamingo, Nakuru on the other side, will not benefit from this money. So we are asking this, Mr. Speaker, since we are here representing our people, which are also saying they are within the city, we want this money to be shared equally, the 15 million, even if I don't have drainage in Beirut. But I will also ask my share, if I can use $1 million shillings to do a bush clearing in my ward, it will be okay. Another issue, Mr. Speaker, there's a construction of motorcycle sheds that worth 12 million to be indicated within the city. That's another amendment, Mr. Speaker, to be indicated within the city, so that when we divide this 12 million among the 11 wards, each ward will get 2 boda sheds. Another issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of construction of construction of bicycle parking bay within the CBD. I think the issue of bicycle within the CBD, it was long time. It was removed a long time ago, Mr. Speaker, and I think this 1 million shillings should also be divided among the 11 wards. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Once again, I say thank you for the Budget Committee for considering Barut. At least we have a bridge for the first time. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Leader of Majority Party, because of precedence in the House, and then the Honorable Doreen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the interest of time, would be brief because you have given guidance. I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank the Budget Committee for the consideration and also the wisdom that the executive put while they were actually preparing this budget. Mr. Speaker, as you've heard from members, this budget has actually cut across basically all the wards. In the choice of allocation of money, the money, Mr. Speaker, has been well distributed in terms of the various sectors: infrastructure, education sector, the agricultural sector, and any other part of development that this great county of Nakuru considered. The other very thing that we are proud of this budget, Mr. Speaker, is its ability to cut through the 55 wards. In the past, Mr. Speaker, we've had several honorable members complaining of not benefiting from the headquarters project, Mr. Speaker. It has actually taken time, and when we have analyzed and dissected the budget, we realize that at least for the first time, all the wards, Mr. Speaker, have benefited. And if it is not from this one of today, when you look at the precedent of what had happened in the past, ideally, the other wards had actually benefited, Mr. Speaker. So I want to thank the Executive and the Budget Committee for the wisdom that they brought in to a budget that is accommodative and actually bears each other's burden, because you all come from several wards, Mr. Speaker. Other than standing in for the whole county, we also stand and represent people from our various wards. And sometimes it is bad that people will not actually understand what you are able to bring home when the budget was actually being made, Mr. Speaker. On my side, as a member of MOSOP, we are equally very grateful. There are projects, a major project like the Level 4 hospital that has come in and is cutting across from Chepseon in my ward and the end part of the Chepseon, which ends in Visoi ward, Mr. Speaker. And in agreement with my counterpart, MCA, Honorable Member from Visoi, we agreed that any major project in terms of that we would have taken from headquarters, we consolidate our funds so that this project, which has existed in terms of talking for over 10 years, can actually be actualized, Mr. Speaker. So today the budget was able to consider an addition of 50 million. And Mr. Speaker, we are very, very grateful. We've seen how well the budget has also captured the so-called emerging new vocabulary, the Gen Z, in terms of sports and in terms of equipping them and facilitating them, in terms of the polytechnics, equipping of the polytechnics, and in terms of even the huge amounts that has been captured in this budget in terms of bursaries to allow our young generations further their education and be able to realize their dreams, Mr. Speaker. So I actually raised to support this budget and thank the committee and the entire executive for considering our Jean said, the young people and the entire county. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Leader of Majority Party, Honorable Doreen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support the budget report and also the Committee on Budget for the good job they've done, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this budget, particularly on the issue of the gender, being a woman. I can see majority of the members have allocated their funds to women empowerment. Like I can see in the 20 wards they have allocated for women empowerment. For example, Bahati have considered empowering women, Mr. Speaker. And I would encourage that even in the future, I would encourage members to consider allocating more funds for the women, especially women equipment. I've seen others purchase of equipment for the Menengai textile worth 4 million, Mr. Speaker. This is a very good, it's a very positive issue on women. So that, Mr. Speaker, we empower more women and we allocate more funds for the women, and because majority of the voters, Mr. Speaker, in the wards are women. So another thing, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of the allocation. In the health department, I've seen the construction of a level 4 hospital in Rongai sub-county, phase 2, worth 50 million, Mr. Speaker. This budget has really catered for the hospitals, the construction of level 4 hospital in Kuresoi North sub-county. It's a very good budget, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, so also the issue of infrastructure. I've seen many wards have been allocated. There is allocation for the Imarisha Barabara. Mr. Speaker, considering the fact that during the few months ago there was a heavy downpour and most of the roads were washed by the heavy rains. So, Mr. Speaker, allocating more funds to the infrastructure is also a plus, Mr. Speaker, and also it will consider construction of the feeder roads. Mr. Speaker, sir, another issue is on the issue of agriculture. There is an allocation that has been done in the agriculture, the subsidy fertilizer program for the farmers who were the 234 million. That is, it will boost the farmers. The supply also and distribution of pyrethrum seedlings worth 30 million, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I really support this budget in totality, and I know it is considering the manifesto of our Excellency, the Governor. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, the Honorable Doreen. The Honorable Member for Kiptagich, the Honorable Member for Maimayu, and the Honorable Member for Malewa, in that order, and then we're going to do another round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm Rose Chepkoech from Kiptagich Ward, and I'm really very happy about the budget, especially on allocation of 27.5 to support purchase of BWD's equipment under Article BWD's 2016. Another thing is about AI services that I saw they awarded 12 million. This will introduce the genetic superior shares facilitating genetic improvement through the heads. So our dairy farms will be in good condition. Another thing is about purchase of the drilling machines. Sometimes we have problem, especially when you just award money on drilling. But this time, when we have our own machine, it will be very easy doing it within 55 wards. Another thing is about finance, locally led climate change action, FLOCA, where they award 125 million. And I know each and every ward within 55 wards will benefit from the program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity and chance also to give my input. First and foremost, I would like to thank the committee on the budget for the job well done. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the budget, Mr. Speaker, I can actually see this budget for this financial year, Mr. Speaker, is somehow trying, at least to cater some of the promises that we made to our people during the campaign, Mr. Speaker. I recall very well, Mr. Speaker,
when Madam Governor was going across the county, Mr. Speaker, he said that all the projects that were started by the former regime, Mr. Speaker, were going to be completed, Mr. Speaker. And today, I'm very happy, because, for example, Mr. Speaker, I have a level 4 hospital in my Mahio that was bestowed for almost 3 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it might sound funny, but like 2 weeks ago, somebody took a photo and put it in social media, because a lot of bushes and trees have grown around that building. And and requested me to turn that level 4 hospital into a traditional hospital. Thank you. That we are going to treat our people in a Haboy, Mr. Speaker. It might sound funny, Mr. Speaker, but the message was very much wanting, Mr. Speaker. So when I see in this budget that the level 4 hospital in Mahiu is catered, Mr. Speaker, at least is an improvement, Mr. Speaker. Also, I can see we have so many, Mr. Speaker, level 4 hospital. There are like 4 or 3 of them, Mr. Speaker. And among the promises that the government made to our people, and when I talk about the governor, I talk about even us, Mr. Speaker, is that we are going to have a level 4 hospital in every sub-county, Mr. Speaker. And this is the way to go. So I recommend that if we give priority to these hospitals, Mr. Speaker, at least it will be a step forward, Mr. Speaker. Also, Mr. Speaker, even if you look at the budget, Mr. Speaker, because these are just wording, these are just money in papers, Mr. Speaker. The issue about our revenue collection, Mr. Speaker, is a great matter to make sure that this budget will materialize, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to hear that we have catered some containers, Mr. Speaker, that will be used as office for revenue collection, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other day I raised an alarm, Mr. Speaker, because when I go across the country, Mr. Speaker, if you go to Nyandaro, if you go to Narok, when you go a few kilometers, Mr. Speaker, in the boundaries, Mr. Speaker, they have erected the sales collection points, Mr. Speaker. But when we look at our county Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, for example, I was talking about our border between Nakuru and Narok, Mr. Speaker. We don't have a border there, but people from Narok are collecting sales there, Mr. Speaker. So I raised an alarm to the Committee on Finance. That is revenue that's going to Narok County instead of us collecting in Nakuru, Mr. Speaker. Also, I talk about our boundary in Kajiado also. We don't have a boundary, and we lose a lot of revenue every day, Mr. Speaker. This is an issue and a matter that I'd like to raise to the Committee on Finance. For us to materialize this budget, Mr. Speaker, we must look on how we do our revenue collection, Mr. Speaker. Also, Mr. Speaker, we are saying that Nakuru, we are now becoming cashless in all areas, Mr. Speaker. Also, that is a matter that also need to be looked at very keenly, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that we don't have any loophole that we are going to lose any revenue, Mr. Speaker. Because here, if I look at this budget, Mr. Speaker, I can see almost 2 billion, Mr. Speaker, that we are going to depend on our own source revenue, Mr. Speaker. So it's a matter that needs to be looked into very sensitive, Mr. Speaker. Also, Mr. Speaker, if this budget, because our rate of absorption, Mr. Speaker, we must make sure that at least before the end of this financial year, we absorb as many money as possible, Mr. Speaker. And the major issue, Mr. Speaker, here, and this is an issue that I would like to raise to the whole House, Mr. Speaker, is the issue to do with our BQs and our Department of Procurement, Mr. Speaker. It's very unfortunate that until today, Mr. Speaker, we still have some projects that have not been advertised, Mr. Speaker. And now we are approaching another budget, Mr. Speaker. The Department of, that is the Department of, our department that is concerned about BQs, Mr. Speaker, needs, Mr. Speaker, to fast track this budget earlier the better, Mr. Speaker, because thank you for your correction. The Public Works, Mr. Speaker, is a department as also that we need to look at, Mr. Speaker, so that at least, Mr. Speaker, we do the BQs earlier as possible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have another issue that I feel that also, and I would like to raise it to the Chairman Budget, Mr. Speaker, is about our ICT, Honorable Speaker. I am a member of ICT. Mr. Speaker, and if you look at that Department of ICT, is a department that cuts across each and every department.
And when you look at what has been allocated that department, Mr. Speaker, is very much wanting. For example, Mr. Speaker, if you look like Committee on the Budget, Mr. Speaker, or Department of ICT, Mr. Speaker, if you want a computer, Mr. Speaker, we must go to the Committee on Finance to request for a computer, Mr. Speaker. On where else, Mr. Speaker, I feel that this department should be the one who will be catering of all issues to do with the ICT, Mr. Speaker. If, for example, a department needs a computer, it will be they should make a request to the Department of ICT, not vice versa. That now the ICT is going to get a computer to the finance, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know why this issue was centralized to the Department of Finance, Mr. Speaker. Why else it should be in the ICT department, Mr. Speaker. So this is an issue that we need to look, because, for example, we need to purchase so many computers, Mr. Speaker. And from all the departments, Mr. Speaker, they were all centralized in the committee, in the Department of Finance. My feeling is that, and that is the chairman, in the other budgets, Mr. Speaker, the committee or the Department of ICT should be given its full mandate. We should be given the right to do our duty on to deal with all matters concerning ICT, Mr. Speaker. But also, Mr. Speaker, when I look at the budget, I can say this budget, in one way or the other, is going to favor the residents of Nakuru. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm Francis Kuria, Malewa West Ward MCA. I commend the good job by the Budget Committee. And by looking on this budget, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful, Honorable Speaker. Once I started with the allocation of the 21.1 billion for the salaries of the workers within the county, you find with the state of the economy, and most of the workers are working tirelessly, Honorable Speaker. And this shows that there has been a lot of pending bills. Most people have not been paid their salaries, but with this allocation, Honorable Speaker, it will enable easy runnings from our staffs within the county, because the facilitation will be easy. Honorable Speaker, we have people living with disabilities. They have special set aside kitty that will help to boost them. On matters to do with the roads and the infrastructure, we have some programs like Imarisha Barabara, Honorable Speaker. And we have a special kitty allocated for maybe maintenance of the equipment, which to maintain those equipments, it's very costly, but with allocation, it will enable easy running of those equipments. Also, Honorable Speaker, we have a budget set aside for still on that Imarisha to upgrade our roads. For instance, there have been heavy rainfall, most of our roads were damaged, and with this kitty, it will help to improve the damaged roads. We find we have the urban towns, we have the trading centers. We are going to upgrade them with the cabros. That makes the smooth running of those towns, Honorable Speaker. We have the 66 million set aside for rehabilitation to youth polytechnics. This shows that the county, or us as the leaders, we have a goodwill of our youth. Remember, Honorable Speaker, most of our youth, or the students, are not talented in books. So you find those with special talents through the polytechnics will undergo the short courses, and they will gain the skills that will make them pursue well with life. Honorable Speaker, when I look at this budget, I find there is completion, or we have the goodwill of all the stored projects. We have set aside some money so that those projects can be taken to completion, and also the allocated money for other projects. The project, if it's worth 15 million, that 15 million, that project will run towards completion. So I therefore raise to support this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bahati, the Honourable Member for Mayela, and then the Honourable Member for Buru Baruk, the Honourable Member for Kapkures, and then we are going to have the mover, the chair, respond in that order. And Honourable Members, kindly let us try to shorten our input for the sake of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Grace, representing the good people of Bahati Ward, and I rise to support this document and this report, the budget, and I wish to thank the Budget Committee members for the good well done. Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said because this budget has a lot of goodies to the people of Nakuru County who elected us. I just want to go straight to the education sector. We have seen that we have 20 million to rehabilitate our ECDs. We know there are some ECDs which are in bad shape. And for those kids to have smooth learning in their classes and school, they have to be in a very conducive environment. And I wish to thank the department for putting the 20 million aside to rehabilitate the classes. We also have 10.1 for learning materials for our children. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we were little girls and boys, we know that whatever was demonstrated to you is never forgotten. So if these children get the 40 million monies for buying the learning materials, they'll keep in mind that they saw and they heard the teacher saying about it. We've done away with the NARIG, we know that in the agricultural sector, and we are paving with the NAV CDP, and we have 151,515 for the wards that are benefiting, except the few which are in the town. Mr. Speaker, sir, the NAV CDP is running across all the wards, and for the first time, the MCAs, the members of public have been involved in even choosing the committee members who are going to be in the committee and who are going to see to it that the NAV CDP program runs in all the wards. Mr. Speaker, sir, on our health, we know that health is key. Now that we are going to pass this budget, we know that our hospitals will never lack medicine. Our hospitals will have good infrastructure because we know that this money will be used accurately. On the agriculture sector, Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud to mention that we have 5 million for potatoes, which will go across the wards and benefit our farmers. The pyrethrum, we have 30 million. The supply of pyrethrum, we have the fertilizer stores, which are going to hasten the farming, because when we get the stores around us, the farming will be very, very much in order. Mr. Speaker, this budget, for the first time, almost all wards are getting the headquarter projects. I'm very happy and very proud to say that in Bahati Ward, we have a cold store, which will involve and meet the farmers of Bahati and Subukia coming to bring their pyrethrum in one area. This one is a plus for us. With that few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the budget, and we know that this county will go far. Thank you.
Thank you. The member for Mayela.
Yeah, I'm Jane, representing Mayela Ward. And I'm up and standing, Honorable Speaker, to support this budget, but to make some few observations that have also been mentioned by earlier speakers, especially being a member of the Finance Committee, and also maybe need to highlight some things that we have continued to watch. And I remember back in April this year, we tabled what we call the County Physical Strategy Paper 2024, although we didn't discuss it because it was said it is not the budget I think that was a very, very important paper, because even if you look at the introduction of our budget today, it is said that the committee is mandated. It is mandated to examine the county fiscal strategy paper presented to the House. That we didn't do, and I want to come here and talk about the envelope that was presented through the fiscal strategy paper, and you will notice something about parking fee. As a member of the Finance Committee, you look at the figure that was presented, it required us to even ask ourselves a question, because they present a kind of an envelope that carried something like 56,000. I don't know whether it was a typing error in that document or it is actually what was corrected from the ground. If you spread that across the year, you realize that the revenue collected from the parking fee, because I've heard people talk about, a particular member talked about us extending our hands in revenue collection in Kajiado and other areas. But even within ourselves, I am very, very much surprised that we have not noticed that the parking fee that is corrected by this county assembly through that county fiscal strategy paper. Previously, 2023 was 56,000. The projection for 2024 came to 61,000. If you spread it, it means that every day, the whole of Nakuru County, we collect 224 shillings as parking fee. I also hope that our budget chair will correct me that, because I don't know whether it was a typing error. You look at our cess collection from our barriers. We know the cess barriers that we have. We know the amount that is collected. Some of us have a rough idea. But what was presented in the fiscal strategy paper was ranging something like 22 million. Really, when we talk about financing and the Finance Committee, we are talking about a very serious aspect of this county government that requires also to be looked at closely. And because the Treasury Department has decided to purchase tools that will make sure that our revenue collection is updated, let us pray and believe that there is a change of how we go about collecting fee. When I come to the interest of ward allocation, we are allocated 49.2%. When next time I'll request the budget team, because we trust them. One of us has told us that when he goes to the budget committee, he doesn't look at his ward, he looks at his sub-county. I don't know who actually looks about the Naivasha sub-county. We shall be learning very soon in the budget committee, but we need to have an allocation of the ward that is reflective of what the statement in the budget is saying. They are saying that the allocation of the ward is less FIF and other conditional grants, and the amount that remains is supposed to be distributed in a certain way. Some of these things we need to sit down as members of this assembly. We came purely here, not because of anything else, but to represent the people who sent us here. And let me assure this assembly, Honorable Speaker, sir, that some of those who elected us are very knowledgeable in these things. So when you spread this budget across the website, they will ask you so many questions that you cannot even repeat here, because they are able to read, look at it, and wonder, the person they sent to that assembly, is he able to read? Let us not be like the National Assembly, where a certain MP said that he had to burn the midnight oil to read the finance bill because he had something that was not actually what is normal. That is what one of the MPs said, that he had not read the finance bill. Let us get these documents, and I want to thank the budget chair for allowing us time to look at this budget. It is one of the most important documents. We can spend here 2 days, because for the next 1 year, we will rest easy in our wards, knowing that our interests are represented. You look at somebody who asks you, how much are you constructing a shed with? And they are telling you this is too much money. How can you construct a shed with this much money? We need to give a lot of explanation at the ground of the procurement and whatever projects we are taking to the ground. I also want to look at infrastructure. As much as I want to support this budget, I wanted noted that I particular in my ward, had put in 4 million in the Imarisha project. But it has reached a point that it is almost impossible to go on with the Imarisha program. I was even wondering whether it is possible to revert so that that money is given back to the people of Maela. They can contract direct contractors for the roads. Why? Because the system itself is so uncoordinated, and it has no reflection of the money that you put there. So when we are talking about Imarisha, as much as we don't support it, I had given it 4 million for Maela Ward, but I can assure you there's no value for that money. I would also want to kind of caution or put to task the engineers who are responsible for the sub-count, because they're also responsible for distribution of this machine. As much as the machine has broken down, I have no problem because the machine has got it is a machine that should break down any time. But when that machine goes back to work, it becomes the burden of the MCA. It is not possible to follow the machines, to know where they are, to know what the operators are doing, and finally, by the time those machines are leaving, they don't leave ceremoniously. You hear that they have been asked for. A certain MCA somewhere claims that they have called back the machines. Nobody questions about your fuel. I remember the last time those machines were in Maela Ward, and I'm speaking this so that it can be captured in the handset. They went that early morning after being fueled, and I wonder which vote was credited that fuel that left that early morning. The roller, the grader, and everything are fueled with over 400 liters from Maela. But in the morning, you hear they are being asked to go, I don't know where, because there is another ward that is more urgently, that needs to be acted on urgently than Maela ward. Since 2022, no machine has ever operated in Maela. People think that Maela roads are done by these machines. Please let me inform this House, the only time those machines come to my place is for disaster. And unfortunately, the fuel that they come for in disaster is also credited to our account, instead of the infrastructure department telling us where they are getting this fuel from. And as I move on, I want also to talk about the procurement department. The budget is
Point
okay.
of information. Mr. Speaker, sir.
What information?
Maybe to just request my sister on that issue of Imarisha Barabara, he can as well put eye of machine for ease.
Thank you, Sam, my senior, because that is why I'm talking, because we are deciding that we're going to change our system. We have realized that a lot of fuel is going to do work elsewhere, but it is credited in our docket. I went visiting, for your information, madam, I visited the office where they're in charge of fuel, and this is a story that I was able to get because I also have proper record of what the machines do, the fuels they consume when they come to my ward. That is the only work that I do. And so let me continue, because I don't have the whole day. And I want to also recommend that the agricultural department, Maela being an agricultural zone, we have over 400 million that have been set aside. We are believing and trusting that the agricultural department will remember those words, because the amount that was allocated in the agricultural department from grants and all those conditional grants were not very specific. So we are trusting that as they continue, we are requesting the agricultural department to remember that I've got a very, very active beekeeping and honey processing department that should also be benefiting from this particular. And I believe that in the spirit of the bottom up, I'm not going to talk about the Generation Z, because I believe it is not in this document, but I'll talk about the youth. The youth require a lot of us to put our effort in making sure that they benefit from these grants that are coming back. If you look at the climate change department that have a lot of money, they can do a lot to do.
Mr. Speaker, sir, could you work on time? Because you had earlier on made a communication, and as the budget chair in the House, we are also concerned because of the afternoon.
I think, Chairman, you should stop interjecting me, because I also have
proceed. The honourable member,
so let
proceed.
me finish. I'm finishing. That's what I'm saying. I don't need to be diverted. Now,
order, honourable member, proceed.
Yeah, because why should you stand in the middle when I'm talking?
It's
and
your
you have
time.
taken the whole
Don't
day.
respond to
Mr. Speaker, keep protecting us from these very rude interruptions from people within
Chair,
that.
have your piece.
Yes.
Proceed.
Yeah. And finally, what I'm saying is, and it might also be not final, if I'm cut through, I'll sit down, that in this particular budget that has been presented to us, we need to be involved even before we sit down, because our departments in the procurement, right now I'm communicating with the director of procurement, and she's telling me that a procurement that was done in January has not reached her office. So we are saying we be saved from this agony. We be saved from an MCA running all over, talking to CEOs and requesting them and begging them, because these projects are needed at the ground. When I present my budget, Honorable Speaker, sir, that comes from the Budget Committee in the County Assembly, give us an opportunity for these CEOs to do their work so that we're able to get our programs at the ground on time from the day of procurement, so that if our budget is released in September, Honorable Speaker, let by February all procurements be done, so that by March these people are at the ground. Because if you don't do that, that is why we are having some projects now they are rushing projects in May that should have been procured in January. Then what happens? You start telling us that there's no time if Miss is closing. We are the MCAs, for your heaven's sake. We are at the ground. We need to go for barriers. We need to look at our people. And then we have to come all the way here at the Assembly, and the Speaker has said they should be here at 9:30. And the same Speaker wants me to be in here at 9:30. I'm needed at one of the offices to look at how far my programs have gone. Mr. Speaker, sir, it has been a burden for the MCA. It has been very, very disturbing. But I'm praying that going forward, MCAs, you'll agree with me who are elected, that we need to be given peace by the CEOs, the CCMs, and the procurement department going forward. And for this budget of 2024, let us discuss this, having been rectified. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I support the budget, but I have made my conclusion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Eburu Baruk, and then the Honourable Member for Kapkures, then the Chair responds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support. In this budget, we are going to start one of our dream projects that we promised the people of Eburu Baruk, and that is a youth empowerment center. A youth resource center, Mr. Speaker, whereby the people who have come from the vocational training centers and they have qualified with certificates either in plumbing, in electricity works, in tailoring or beauty. Mr. Speaker, when they go out there, it is very hard for them to raise capital to be able to do that work or to be able to start their own businesses. We came up with an idea of opening a resource center where we'll be equipping resources like ovens. We'll be equipping resources like tailoring machines, and other resources like dryers, shaving machines, and other assorted items that will enable those people who have qualified and they can be able to market themselves and get work. They have a center where they can come do the work without having to incur capital to start the business on their own. Mr. Speaker, in this budget, as promised by Her Excellency, when we visited one of the schools, it has been captured and it will start. Mr. Speaker, in this budget, you remember we did campaigns, and Her Excellency Governor Susan Kihika also came to Eburu Baruk, specifically in a place called Kongasis. And as the people of Kongasis, we requested her for a market. The governor has always told us that she keeps her promises. As she promised the people, she has made sure from our consistent engagements. And Mr. Speaker, it is not a doubt that we have good engagements with the governor. Now that she has visited Eburu Baruk more than 5 times in 2 years. Through that good relation, through the executive, Kongasis have gotten 15 million for a market. And Mr. Speaker, it is not only Kongasis. This is a budget that has the people at heart in terms of bottom-up. As my counterpart from Morindat said, Langalanga is also getting 15 million also for a market. And Kehingo, Maunarok, Kebuja, among other 12 centers, also have gotten an allocation to get an approval as trading centers. That is the spirit of helping the Wanjiko that put us into these positions. Mr. Speaker, allow me to mention two areas that have made me very happy because this assembly have contributed largely into it. Number one is the PWD funds. In this assembly, we debated a bill that is now an act that has enabled operationalization of this fund. And Mr. Speaker, every ward is going to have a minimum, at least 500,000 towards the PWDs. This assembly also, we debated and passed a bill that is now an act, a county government act on the sports management. And in this budget, we can be able to see that it has largely touched on sports management, and it has touched, even in my ward, I can be able to put up a very good league that will have very good prizes. We'll be able to welcome scouts to be able to scout for talent, and not only on football, but we have so many other sports that we are looking into. Mr. Speaker, Gen Z have been mentioned quite sometimes, and I know as much as we cannot hear outside the assembly, we can feel the air that is outside. Mr. Speaker, a lot of people are trying to understand what Gen Z need, and most of us have thought it is inclusion. But I want to believe that I understand what Gen Z wants. They want accountability too. They want that whenever we budget for something, it is done, it is implemented. What Gen Z want is that when we are doing our BQs, at some point, we know that we are guided by the Consumer Price Index. We know that we are also guided by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. But it is now high time that we introduce policies that are going to allow for alternative building materials, for alternative ways that can be adopted. We don't have to continue doing the conventional methods if they end up being expensive. But this is not in the hands of the executive. It is not in the hands of some of us who are implementing. It is in the hands of the policymakers, some in the National Assembly. I know, Mr. Speaker, that it is hard for us to build using bricks, like if you are doing ECDs, because those standards have not been passed. It is hard for us to build ECDs or markets using blocks or interlocking bricks, interlocking blocks, Mr. Speaker. We urge that some of these policies from whatever department, from the national government, they are made to be able to allow us to even be marginal in our expenditure as the Gen Z are demanding. Mr. Speaker, it is through those demands that the Generation Z are making that we urge the procurement department to be prompt. It is one of their saying is that mapema ndio best. It is a clarion call by every member here that now that we have passed the budget, let them begin early enough so that this work can be done and so that we can be able to show value for our budget. But at the same time, we make a call to the national government. We know that we do our budgets, sometimes there are delays in release of funds which affect our operations at the county. We do request that all the institutions that are mandated in doing this, we have a proper flow so that at the end of the day, what the people are demanding, everyone who has a role to play has played their role to make sure that we all deliver to the Generation Z, to ourselves, and to everybody else. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Member for Kapkures.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I am Robert Kiplangat Ruto, MCA from Kapkures. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion. However, I would like to give my observations concerning the same. Mr. Speaker, I first want to thank the Committee on Budget for the good work they have done in order to come up with this good report. However, Mr. Speaker, in my observations, when I come to the Nakuru city, I don't feel that the committee has done a good job by giving most of the development money to one ward. Mr. Speaker, as the chairman has said, in Nakuru City, we are being given 144.3 million, of which 59.5 of the 144.3 goes to development. But when you see, Mr. Speaker, in the 59.5 million, 40 million goes to installation of markets, matatu stages, and CBD. And 15 million goes to rehabilitation of drainages within the CBD. That means of the 59.5 million, 55 million goes to one ward, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all the people working in the CBD resides in our various wards within the city. And Mr. Speaker, we cannot give almost 100 of the development to only the office where they are working and forgetting where they are sleeping, Mr. Speaker. It seems we give more consideration to the CBD and forget about their residents. Mr. Speaker, Nakuru City consists of 11 wards. But giving 55 million of the 59 million to one ward, to me, we have not done a good job, or it is not, the money was not equitably shared among the wards in the city. Mr. Speaker, the document which is in public domain and the document which is in our gadgets, to me, are two different documents, which doesn't in my view, because when I go to page 37, number 79, as the Honorable Chair has given us, that in the Nakuru City, there is an installation of streets within the city of 15 million. There is another rehabilitation of drainages of the CBD, which is of 15 million. There is construction of motorcycle shed of 12 million. There is road marking and signage of 5 million. There is rehabilitation of road behind Carnation Hotel, 7 million, and construction of bicycle parking bay within the CBD of 1 million. However, in our gadgets, we only, in page 34, number 79, we only see two projects, that is installation of street lights for markets, matatu stages, and CBD worth 40 million, and another one, rehabilitation of drainages within the CBD worth 15 million. Now, what I'm asking, where are these other projects which were given in this document, Mr. Speaker? However, I want to support the report with amendments, because as we go in feeding program in education, the feeding program will really assist our children and will make the turnout of children in schools to go up. Also, Imarisha program, it has done a good job. However, in some words, I'm from Kapkures. I haven't felt a very good impression with the Imarisha. Mine, I put 1.2 million for fuel, but up to now, Mr. Speaker, there is no any machine which has come to Kapkures. I think next the machines will be in Kapkures to do the work. On health, Mr. Speaker, I thank the committee for the work they have done. Health, I think Kapkures this time we will get equipping of Kapkures Health Center, which will in turn, Kapkures Maternity, which will in turn assist our mothers during delivery, because coming all the way from Kapkures to our nearest facility, which is the level 5 hospital, they will have assisted. So, Mr. Speaker, I think I support the report with amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, the Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I want to clarify that last week we tabled a report and we requested the House to give us some time on the same report to ensure that what you have on your gadgets, it's the updated version of the entire report, because, and we requested time as a committee because we found we could still redistribute the project. And I think the majority leader has done some good work according to the Kamkunya, and also clarifying on most of these things that we have had here. Mr. Speaker, the clarity on this mainly will even be cited. If you listen outside this House, Mr. Speaker, there is a generation that feels left behind, Mr. Speaker. And as a good county assembly, as a good government of the people, under her Excellency the Governor Susan Keheka, we have decided, Mr. Speaker, to address such needs within our budgets, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you will realize that each and every market that is now being done within Nakuru County, there must be an ICT hub within that market, Mr. Speaker. One was started in Kehingo, Mr. Speaker, and I know a perfect ICT hub is coming there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, within this day, whereby we have so many young people out there agitating for changes that they feel they would want within this nation, Mr. Speaker. I feel that this budget has addressed most of these needs, Mr. Speaker. When you go to the stadiums that we are making, Mr. Speaker, currently, Mr. Speaker, I'm being informed through texts within my own ward, Mr. Speaker. People have flocked Kehoto Center, Mr. Speaker, Kehoto Field, Mr. Speaker, Naivasha Town, Mr. Speaker. And if we don't address such issues of such people, Mr. Speaker, within our budget, Mr. Speaker, I think even heaven, some of us might not even be able to access it. Mr. Speaker, let me also be there on some of the issues that have been asked. Some people, Mr. Speaker, or some honorable members here have asked on the Imarisha program, Mr. Speaker. This is a task that I can only ask the chairperson roads, Mr. Speaker, to address at the departmental level, Mr. Speaker, because it falls beyond the budget committee at this level, Mr. Speaker. Because there are agitation, Mr. Speaker, and they are genuine, Mr. Speaker. When you come to procurement, Mr. Speaker, I think through your office and also the other offices, Mr. Speaker, we can try addressing it at those departments, Mr. Speaker, because the purpose of what we are here today, Mr. Speaker, is not really to antagonize each and every department, Mr. Speaker, but to ensure that each and every coin that we have allocated here, Mr. Speaker, can be utilized, Mr. Speaker. Further on, Mr. Speaker, I think when we are doing our quarterly reports, Mr. Speaker, we can engage members so that we see through the CEC Finance, CEO Finance, we can see how good are we able to absorb the amounts that we have within our various capacities. Mr. Speaker, issues have been raised on the city, municipalities, and Mr. Speaker, let me ask the members of the different municipalities, the different cities, Mr. Speaker, to have a sitting at their own base level, Mr. Speaker. The work of the budget committee is not to strike off monies that have been set from those departmental or management level, Mr. Speaker. It will be good, Mr. Speaker, if you obtained a document that is well elaborate, Mr. Speaker, from the other side, Mr. Speaker, so that we can proceed as a county, we can proceed as a people here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, within this budget, I want to commend the good work that each and every member here has participated in, Mr. Speaker. They have given a good vibe of this budget, Mr. Speaker. And I feel that the world and Africa and Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we are moving to a station where, by Mr. Speaker, the needs of the people must be addressed, Mr. Speaker. And as much as we might be in municipalities as much as we might be in what we call cities, Mr. Speaker, I will want to cite, like for instance in Naivasha, Mr. Speaker, whereby Viwandani has almost 100% been tarmacked through the municipality's money, Mr. Speaker. My ward is next to Viwandani, Mr. Speaker, and I must give an allowance that Viwandani ward, Mr. Speaker, at the moment has a generation of higher revenue than my ward, Mr. Speaker. I cannot do parking in Kehoto area, Mr. Speaker, today. Whereas, Mr. Speaker, if we do more cabros within the Viwandani area, Mr. Speaker, I'll be able to be given more revenue in the coming future, Mr. Speaker. So let us give an allowance to the wards that are generating more revenue than the others, Mr. Speaker, to be given a share that will, that will allow them, Mr. Speaker, to improve on their funding, Mr. Speaker. A sub-county like Naivasha, Mr. Speaker, in Maimahiu, Mr. Speaker, in Maimahiu alone, Mr. Speaker, the kind of revenue that is generated there, Mr. Speaker, supersedes other sub-counties. Yet, Maimahiu itself is a ward, Mr. Speaker. If you are then to contain them down there, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that they don't grow and give us more revenue, Mr. Speaker, Nakuru County revenue collection will still be stuck on the same level. And that's why we tasked the Finance Committee to come up with ways that we can generate more revenue. And I think they came up and told us that we would like to get even more containers and to do this and this and this. And through that, Mr. Speaker, sir, in this budget, we have allocated containers that will be used to collect this revenue, so that in the coming budget, our revenue will not be at 2.2 billion, Mr. Speaker. It will be at 3, Mr. Speaker. It will be at 4, Mr. Speaker. If it is at 3 or at 4, Mr. Speaker, most of us will get projects, Mr. Speaker, from those. So let us not look at it's Viwandani getting this and this and this, so Lakeview should be jealous on this. It should be, Mr. Speaker, that we enhance our own revenue collection, even at your own center, Mr. Speaker, so that we can go far and appreciate everything. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank the entire House for the support they have given to this document. Mr. Speaker, it is available, and I want to appreciate all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I now want to proceed to putting it to question that pursuant to the provisions of Section 129 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 and the Standing Order 210, subsection 6, this House adopts the report of the Committee on Budget and Appropriations on the Nakuru County budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of the Assembly on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, during the morning session. As many who are of that opinion say aye. As many who are of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, there's a procedural motion.
The Honorable Chair, Committee on Budget and Appropriations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to move on procedural motion that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 119, the House resolved to reduce publication period of the Nakuru County Appropriation Bill number 2 of 2024 from 7 days to 1 day. Mr. Speaker, sir, last week I was meant to go through this budget for the purpose of meeting the deadlines that we are given, even from the national level, Mr. Speaker, which is 30th of June, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through consultation with these members, we felt that we wanted more time or require more time to do further consultations. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that took us the 7 days that we had last week, Mr. Speaker. So in that good faith that we gave the House, Mr. Speaker, and for us to meet the mandate of this committee and also not to affect the members of public within Nakuru County, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to ask this House that we reduce the number of publication days to 1 day today, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to ask Honorable Anjohi to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second that we reduced the time for publication from 7 days to 1 day. Mr. Speaker, as members of this House, we are supposed to have discussed the budget from last week, and the chair asked for more time so that we were able to deliberate. And because the members are contented, and Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that almost 90% of the members have discussed, have penetrated on the budget. Mr. Speaker, I also request that we will shorten that time and also reduce the time for publication from 7 days to 1 day. And Mr. Speaker, the members have actually spoken and they have heard. I would request the members that we proceed with the question so that we continue shortening everything so that at the end of the day or before the end of this week, the whole budget is signed by Excellency the Governor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The motion is seconded. The Honorable Majority Leader, do you agree with the sentiments of the Minority Leader?
Yes, I do, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we proceed with the. I proceed to put the procedural motion that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 119, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Nakuru County Appropriations Bill number 2 of 2024 from 7 to 1 day. As many who are of that opinion say aye. As many who are of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
The Nakuru County Appropriation Bill number 2 of 2024, an act of County Assembly to authorize the issue of money out of the Consolidated Fund and its applications toward the services of the year ending on 30th June 2025 and appropriate those sums and sums vote on account by the County Assembly for certain public services and purposes. First reading.
Thank you. The bill is now committed to the Committee on Budget and Appropriations for further action. Thank you. Next order. Next order.
Mr. Speaker, those are the orders of the sitting.
Honorable members, I had made a communication earlier about the changes in the sitting of this session or today's sittings. And we are going to have another session at 12:45 so that now we can proceed and finish up on the matters that we started in this session. So, honorable members, this House starts adjourned to 12:45 this afternoon. Thank you.
Ndio,